I want you all to close your eyes, really, and imagine yourself in your day-to-day life. But there is something that is completely different. You are surrounded by a metre of treacle. Wherever you go, wherever you walk, the people you're trying to do your work with affect, influence, even on your keyboard, trying to type it out. You're getting claggy with the treacle that is stopping you from doing the work. You can open your eyes now. This is what one council member that I was speaking to recently said was their experience of sometimes working for the council. They loved their role. They loved the difference they could make to people in East Sussex. But the one thing they hated was the environment they felt was stifling them, was stopping them from achieving everything they wanted to. And this got me thinking, what if we could change the working practices, the environment, and make our agile initiatives enabling for people to reach those service users they work with to be able to do their work that much better? There came agile work patterns. I've identified 3 different types of agile work patterns that initially East Sussex County Council can infiltrate into people's working patterns. The first one is temporal agility. It's about looking at how people use their time, how best they work, and not tying them into the 9-to-5 daily routine that they have to be in. If somebody is an early bird, that they write for economic development, huge strategies that influence the whole of the council's work. If they work better at 5 a.m. in the morning, let them do that. Let them work morning to mid-afternoon, meeting with those people that they have to communicate with, those stakeholders, but during some time that they are the most productive, making the best use of their time. The second type of agile work pattern I've identified is task-based agility. And this is looking at particularly those members of staff who are occupational therapists, social workers, people who have a number of cases they deal with every single week. It's about rewarding them, putting in place a structure so that managers say to them, your working week is no longer judged by your 37 hours you do, but by completion of those cases. Actually, in reality, they probably will be working close to 37 hours in completing the work, but they will be given a new sense of freedom, a sense of motivation that the council is rewarding them for their hard work. It might reduce burnout. It definitely will increase employee engagement. Give them motivation. And the third type of agile work pattern I'm talking about is one which is particularly close to me. I worked for the council for the first time in 2008-2010 in the economic development team, and I was so frustrated with the lack of posts for me to move on to. I was really keen, I was super engaged, I wanted to change the world. That was my feeling when I first came to the council. I felt I could do that, but there was no jobs for me to go to, and there was no opportunity and availability to sample different teams, to make those links that would help me to do my work. Give them opportunities. This is a wonderful idea for employee engagement, something that I think could be revolutionary to the council and the work that we do. But there is a solid business case behind this. For every person who leaves the council disengaged, since I've been here working in HR for 10 months, I've heard about 6 people who have left, not because they didn't enjoy the work they did, but because of the work conditions, the patterns they felt were stifling them. For every one of those people, it costs between £5,000 and £10,000 for the council to recruit a new person. Not to mention the loss in productivity when the new person comes in and has to learn the ropes. For about a year, that loss that you're really having to achieve in building them up to fulfil the role. So in terms of the business case, if, say, 2% of the workforce leave the council every year because of the lack of the work conditions that they really feel they can do their best in, if we can prevent that happening, the council could be close to saving £1.5 million a year in recruitment costs, let alone those who leave via redundancies and so have that payment given out. It's really about looking at how we can keep those best, brightest talents, the rising stars in East Sussex County Council, through making their work patterns not one that constricts and confines, but one that liberates them gives them the freedom to do exactly what they do best and to feel engaged, motivated and enthused by the work of the council because they are free to do their work. The council will become known as an employer of choice and will share the values and this working pattern with other councils is easily replicatable across the UK. The council will be known for a council that provides a stimulating and supportive place of work, somewhere where people can feel that they are valued, they're enthused, they are liberated, and they know most of all their place within the council and the value that they bring through agile work patterns. Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to leave a pause on the on from that. Hugely enthusiastic, and again, I had high expectations after yesterday, and you delivered. I was just rereading the in the written submission, and you describe use a word called intensification, which I've not professed to have seen before. I do like collecting words like this. Intensification, it kind of sums up what you're doing. It's kind of, we can't help to be enthused by when you talk about anything. And I have the sense that whatever you were doing, you would be bringing this level of motivation to it. So today it's agility, tomorrow it could be economic development, the next day it could be, whatever. So I suppose so from a presentation point of view, I'm absolutely confident that you could deliver a presentation and do a pitch. I thought your body language, your tonality, the way you change your tonality, the way you maintain eye contact, your movement, everything was great. I have no worries about that. Like I said, I had expectations and you delivered, so that was fantastic. Business case is about money, it's about risks, it's about delivery, it's about convincing the powers that be to do something differently, whether it's spend more money or change resources from one place to another. So I suppose my challenge around your submission in terms of business case is what's the kind of number one benefit do you think a senior management team needs to know about your proposal in terms of what it's going to deliver for the council? Would you nail it down to a single benefit?
Yes, I think for me it would be retention of those bright people who are staying. That's the number one, and that just will drive so much. If you've got those people, I think that, which I didn't have time to share in my presentation, that what I find really exciting is that this scheme isn't one that will have to push out and not force people, but really sell the benefits. You're asking those people who are the ones who will want to do this scheme to put their hands up and say, yes, I want this, I can see the benefit in it. And so you are engaging, retaining, and so that would be for me the biggest selling point.
I've got a lot of operational questions, but I'm going to hand over to my colleagues who may have them.
Okay, so I'm really excited by your passion and your commitment. There's part of me that wants to kind of rewrite your business case and say, I tell you what, the business case could simply be Amy as an advocate for agile workers. Right? Let's wind her up and send her out and preach, and we'll all buy into it, and the world will change, and we'll all be heroes. I suppose the grounded part of me wants to ask you, what are the actions that you're going to do to deliver the three areas of agility that you aspire to? So for me, it's very much down to the practical. We're going to go back. I'm going to find, what are you going to do once you've got the approval to proceed?
So first of all, I would be the first member having agile work patterns, and I would like that to be the functional agility, giving me the space a few hours a week to be able to talk to senior management about that. This idea I have, I think manager engagement is very important. I've identified 3 different types of agile work patterns, but managers probably will have different ideas of what they think could work. I know from speaking to Angela yesterday, talking about they have lots of different hours in their council, so somebody might have a set number of hours they do, but it might be you could start anywhere between 6 in the morning and 5 p.m. So managers might say actually having it too open will be really problematic. I'd be happy to have longer a longer hour in which people could work. So it would be that manager engagement, because that's really, I think, the barrier between people taking up agile working. And so it would just be about pitching to senior leaders and then speaking to managers about how they see this working, and then rolling it out to the employees and having them come forward.
Got a couple. Massive enthusiasm. Really liked your volume and tone and the positive language you used, such as written down revolutionary and liberates and freedom. So all of that as a list that makes, and we were talking about yesterday about how it makes you feel, it makes me feel positive about what you're saying. Some of the practical implications, specifically looking at temporal agility, how are you going to convince East Sussex in terms of the building needing to, or the buildings needing to support temporal agility, or does it only work for field workers, and how are you going to convince them what kits they need? So for example, someone who, you gave me an example of someone wanting to work at 5 a.m, if they don't have the resources to work at 5 a.m. and the building isn't open at 5 a.m, how does that work in practice?
There will be that resource. I spoke about the 5 a.m, the lady I know who writes all the strategies for economic development. She has home set-up arrangements, so it really lends itself to that. She's very dynamic. She sort of goes off and has her own world. So for her, that would be set up easily. The council buildings are open sort of 7:30 till 9 at night, so there is some level of flexibility within that. And the council is making significant investment into laptops that people can check out. So, say for example, I had a number of letters I wanted to write. So I go to university at the moment to do a master's in HR. So for me to be able to work from home with one of those laptops 1 day a week and start at 6 a.m. working through to make the best use of my time in that quietness, that would work for me. Having not everyone needing a laptop, but having a pool of laptops that people could access.
Okay, thank you.
My question is a HRE one around risk, and in particular risk around, you talked about task-based agility, and probably social workers wasn't a very good example because I don't think they ever get the chance to switch off, do they, and work sort of 70 hours a week. But around the task-based agility, for us, I think, and in local government, that presents a risk around the equality of that, not to mention an equal pay bill of in Birmingham of £1 billion based on sort of task and finish practices of the 1970s. So have you thought through some of that, the risk factors of moving to, it sounds very practical and quite idealistic, but for us in local government with some of our cultures, I just think that moving to that is a big change and quite a risky one.
I think it is, yeah, and we're lucky that we have a great team of solicitors working with us at the council, so obviously part of the pitch would be going to them and saying, in terms of risk mitigation and management, how would you advise us proceeding? And they're very good at saying, well, the worst case example is this, and here's the rainbow spectrum of what it might cost you or what it might implicate. I think though, in terms of going forward and being brave and coping with the financial cuts we're having to make, if we don't take any risk, then we're going to be in a very difficult position 3 years down the line when central government is still cutting more and more and saying we need to make more savings, rightly so, but if we don't take any steps now, we're going to find ourselves in a very difficult position. So I think there has to be some risk in anything risky and exciting and dangerous that you do. There is some risk, but there is a lot of benefit as well.
Okay, and then my final question, it wasn't a question, it was a comment on your business case. In your business case, I really like that you use stories with photos of real people that talking about their working practices and what really works for them. That really captivated me.
Thank you.
So that was really good.
Just